Still had Aphrodite's colostrum on my cheeks when we met, and butterflies were still wet behind the ears when her perfumes entered my system and confused my senses, leaving me defenseless, craving her fragrance, addicted to her scent. Still. And she told me her hair used to be blonde before she dyed it black, that her fluent Spanish with the well-disguised accent came from a pumpkin vine Latin roots, but both her parents were white, had an appearance like my son's 9th grade Spanish teacher with the shade of the baby blue gangster type, moved like the wind with the mysteries of the night. But I was already in too deep by the time I figured her game was tight. You see, by that point, the genetic configuration of her frame had already set flames to my already flammable desires, and maybe that's when she had me trapped in a trance, or when she asked me to dance, or when she pierced through my soul with one flirtatious glance and said, "Dámelo, papi." But somewhere between the start of our fantasies and my rude awakening existed a twisted, dyslexic reality of love and lust, where I became open and began to trust her wet whispers, allowing her to bite into my flesh with her disarming charms, injecting me with her sweet venoms, her fangs of passion, paralyzing my heart and holding my emotions in a relentless chokehold, so freezing hot, so burning cold. So when she asked me if I had a problem with interracial relationships, I told her that the racial and the relation parts were fine. It was the ships that I had a problem with, because that's how niggas got here, anchored to the decks with shackles on our feet and chains around our necks. But she told me her love was free, and it would never be like shackles on me. Told me, in fact, if we existed before 1863, that she would have still found me, and nothing in this world would ever separate us. In fact, before the first whip cracked or the first leaf fell, she'd hang from the tree right next to me. Told me the reasons the ancestors overcame oppression was because of us, and if we ever had to endure the struggle all over again, that she'd be sitting right next to me in the back of the bus. Told me I was her emancipation from slavery, a slavery of disappointment and heartbreak. And since I made her able to breathe again, that her heart, too many times wounded, was now mine to take. Yeah, those words caught me off guard in between heartbeats, just when I was changing footsteps, trying to regain my balance, standing in quicksand head over heels without a life preserver, trying desperately to stay afloat, inspired by the words that a young civil rights leader spoke. But every time I tried to rise, she made me realize that I was already too whipped to be woke. Had me whipped so bad that when she asked me what my name was, I told her my name was Toby. Told her nothing in this world could ever make me leave her. Not even my mother's best home cooking could release me from this jungle fever. Told her I was her nigger forever. And if the slave ships had left me back in Africa, I'd swim across the motherfucking Middle Passage myself and put shackles and chains on my own hands and feet and wait for over 400 years to spend one day looking into her eyes. Had me feeling like the nigga in the movie Oh, like I was Mekhi Phifer and she was Julia Stiles. Kept me a fool between her thighs. Told me when we kissed, I would close my eyes, and I did, making me unable to see the lies in hers, the poison on her lips when they met mine. How she slept at the same motherfucker who she said tried to diss me a few weeks ago hotel room because she couldn't find a ride home, and she couldn't stay talking with me on the phone because she was too drunk. Danced away as the music faded, left me laying in a funk. Felt like an episode of that MTV reality show, felt like I was being punked. But the truth slowly sank in when I didn't find any hidden cameras or Ashton Kutcher, because for me and her, there was no future. Just my heart being mutilated by this beautiful, selfish, self-righteous, heartless butcher who had me wrapped around her pinky and turned around and gave me the middle finger. Had me swimming with my nose wide open, escalated heartbeats, overlapping breathing. Every thought of her touch was an emotional rush. Placed such big holes in my heart that I was crossing the streets on green lights and putting shaving cream on my toothbrush. Cupid had me whipped stupid, ignored all the signs and premonitions, believed her when she said this shit would last, how much she'd get turned on by the contrast of her skin next to mine. So when she told me never call her again, truly that was my intent. But I found myself dialing her number by accident. Said she couldn't subscribe to some fairy tale romance, so she had to be realistic in choosing the next nigga over me. Because in my arms I held love, but in his hands he held money. And honey, love don't pay the bills. Funny how she remained after he left. Funny how I had to pick up the pieces he left. Funny how every time I tried to leave, she made me feel guilty. Funny how I can't explain how I got myself tied up in this mess, why I still miss the warm feeling of her head laying against my chest. Funny how I can't even begin to digest the thought of another man between the thickness of her thighs and the softness of her breast. Funny how I could only feel for her and I'm numb to any other woman's caress. Funny how this pain seems to keep growing. Funny how hard it is to sit here not knowing. Funny how this had to end.